welcome to episode 14 of Eye on Horror. I'm your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davison. How you doing, Jacob?
Doing good and happy to be here once more.
Also with us, our other co-host, John Correa. How you doing?
Doing good. Happy to be back. And you know what else is back? Rampage references. We forgot to do them last week. This is not less of an apology to our fans, more of an apology to Warner Brothers. We're sorry we're not continuing the effort to expose more people to your movie Rampage, which came out in 2018, is currently out on DVD and Blu-ray and video on demand, Google Play, iTunes, all that fun jazz.
We just have to do twice as many this week because we missed it.
And we'd like to personally apologize to Mr. The Rock. We apologize to you, Mr. The Rock.
You know who's not here, and we're bummed, is Kelly. She's not with us this time. I had a lot of fun with that episode. I think I speak for you two as well. That was cool. We need to have her back.
Yeah, no, I would definitely love to talk with her some more.
She definitely left the door open for a much bigger discussion on Canadian horror and exploitation. Because I don't know about you guys, but afterwards I was sitting there going like, "Oh my god, what about this one? What about that movie? Why don't we talk about Cronenberg more? What the fuck?" All right, so
and they're lining up to be guests because now we've got and actually, if I say it here, that means it's going to have to happen. Chris Fisher, the guy who does our art, has been popping up on Facebook wanting to, and he's Canadian as well. So we're gonna have to find a show for him. And one of these weeks we've got to get our number one fan Tim on.
Yeah, of course.
One of these days we'll get Tim on. Basically, everyone who writes for iHorror should guest at some point in time.
We're basically just saying if you harass us enough, we'll probably let you on. I mean, so find us on Twitter and whatnot and harass us then. Slide into our DMs on the Insta,
But anyways, what have you guys done this week? Anything fun?
Oh, I've done a lot this past weekend alone. Okay, so Saturday was the annual Aero Theater Horror-thon, and shit was wild.
What'd they show?
Okay, well, let's see. They did Jason X, Body Melt, Link, Maximum Overdrive, Zombie 3, Curtains, and Anthropophagus.
How does Maximum Overdrive play with an audience?
Brilliantly. Everybody loved it.
As if I needed to ask.
Yeah, no, that was a real great crowd pleaser movie, so that was a lot of fun.
And that just sounds like such a great, array of horror. It's all horror, but it's a great, range of, just different subgenres, different levels of quality. And
yeah, no, they really know how to blend together a quality festival. And this was the 13th year of the festival, of the Horror-thon as well. So it's always a fun time. But yeah, no, they did choose a lot of great movies this year. Also, Zombie 3 did pretty well with the audience. That was pretty cool. And of course, Jason X. People were really having a good time with Jason X, especially remember the virtual camp part where they put Cyborg Jason in the simulation of Camp Crystal Lake, and then he beats a holographic camper to death with another camper in a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was going to say another thing I did that I should add. I was at another horror-thon the week before, the Secret 16 sequel-thon, and this was a lot of fun because it was a themed marathon where it was all 80s horror movie sequels, and they were all on 16 millimeter. And this was hosted by a combination of I may miss some, but Secret 16, Friday Night Frights, The Mall, a couple of film groups around LA. But yeah, it was so much fun because we didn't know which 6 movie sequels were going to play going in, and like I said, it's all on film, and also, it was a bit easier because it was a daytime marathon, so it was 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. rather than, overnight. And they chose some good ones. It was Child's Play 2, The Fly 2, Poltergeist 3, Phantasm 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Cool. Well, Korea, what'd you do this week?
I didn't do much. I was wrapping on a show, so I was working, long hours throughout the week. But I did have a lot of my pre-orders come in. I got most of my Halloween vinyl box set, which is great because it's a Halloween 1 through 5. You could pre-order them at various times, but most were set to come out this month. Halloween 3 vinyl hits in January on the streets, though. I know Jacob and I talked about it before that he got his copy already, which I'm super jealous of. But
thank you, Beyond Fest.
Yeah.
Should have dropped the coin.
I can be patient, though. But no, it's a beautiful set. I mean, if you pre-ordered and you got 4 and 5 together, it came with a special packaging to house all 5. And let me tell you, when that fucker came in, it was gorgeous. So I got 1, 2, 4, and 5 in the box set right now, just waiting for that third one to come in January. And then on top of that, I also I actually invested in Loot Fright, which is Loot Crate's new horror exclusive set that they did for the first time. And I don't know about you guys, but generally when it comes to those crate packaging things, I never could get into them because it was always like, oh, they have a couple of shows that I'm into, but then it would always be like, oh yeah, it might be like, oh, your one show that you like and then a bunch of shit that you don't want.
Don't get me started on those. I am a victim of both Horror Block and Box of Dreads demise on those. So I'm a little gun shy about subscription boxes, but I'm glad that your Loot Crate turned out well.
Let me tell you, Loot Fright was well worth it for me, mostly because when they first announced it, all of the movies that were involved with it, I could not buy, are my favorites. They had Nightbreed, Night of the Living Dead, Trick or Treat, Evil Dead 2. It was like all my favorites. I was like, all right, let's see what they sent. And what they sent was awesome. I got a great Trick or Treat t-shirt that fits great. It came with a Night of the Living Dead VHS cover pillowcase, which is great. I've been sleeping on that all weekend. It also came with this awesome diorama of Ash getting grabbed by, I know you guys can't see it at home, but these guys can, where it's Ash getting grabbed by the cellar dweller, Deadite, and it's based off of an artist's artwork. Like, it's a cute little thing, and it's a sad emo. We can post pictures later this week when the episode airs. But I'm trying not to buy action figures anymore, but this is a fucking adorable little addition. It also came with a reproduction Night of the Living Dead lobby card and a graphic novel for Nightbreed.
Nice.
So for like $25-$30, honestly, not bad. And what I also like about this new service is that it's not monthly, because that adds up. I mean, $30 a month each month, that's a lot. But every other month, I could deal with that. I can deal with like, all right, every 2 months, $30, and then get something. If there isn't some stuff in there that I like, then, sell it on eBay or give it away here or whatever. But ultimately, I liked it so much. I was like, fuck it, I'll get an October Loot Crate, because they also sent like a 25% off code and shit for it. So I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, Box of Dread only comes every 3 months, but he charges you every month. No,
well, how does that
not
work?
really. It doesn't. It's kind of falling apart at this point. But whatever. That's for another time.
Yeah, we can talk about ways we've been bitten as horror fans.
Okay.
We'll have a gripe episode.
Yeah.
Right now, my gripe is with Amazon, but hey, because of them, I don't have a copy of Mandy on vinyl, but I do have $40 in Amazon credits, so I can't be that mad, I guess.
I can't be mad at Amazon because they had as their deal of the day earlier this week, they had that Universal Monsters box set, the one with all 30 movies that's normally like $150, $70.
Really?
So I pulled the trigger on that. So and it showed up the next day because, I mean, I'm Prime, so that was cool.
That's not a bad deal at all, because that's usually like $150, $130, not even.
Yeah.
But definitely check on that disc for Creature, though.
I'm not sure if this is the one with the corrected disc or not, but they're replacing the defective disc, but I've heard there's a problem with the replacements, too. Have you guys heard that?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the problem was. I just saw somebody post on the internet something about how there's a problem with the replacement. And, they don't post anything on the internet that isn't true, so I'm tending to believe it. I'm totally joking.
I was about to say, you're being sarcastic, right?
You guys both took me way too seriously on that. But yeah, that was and the other big exciting mail thing I got, as an esteemed member of the press, I don't know how I got on this mailing list, but I got a Suspiria Mondo print, and there was a little note with it that said, dear esteemed member of the press, I hope you enjoy my movie. And and like I said, I saw Suspiria a few weeks back. It was kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to talk to the people in the other critics groups I'm in to see who got it, which organization. And so far, no one's got it. I'm the only person that I know who got it. So someone out there must know I'm a fan, and they, it's, I'll take it. It's great.
Well, clearly cool. This is the work of witches.
Yeah, it may be. But the note that says, dear esteemed press member, it looks like it's handwritten by Luca. So, either that or it's a very good photocopy. So maybe it is a real limited thing and he only did handwrite. And who knows? I mean, maybe they asked for your reactions as you're leaving, and maybe my reaction was positive enough that they got me on the list to get one. I don't know. It was cool. It was fun, though.
And also, I saw Suspiria.
Okay, what'd you think? I
loved it. I mean, I may have to see it again, and I am still processing that movie, which is how crazy it was.
Yeah, well, I loved the first 2 hours of it, and then you know exactly what I mean when I say it goes off the rails.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of it just it goes there, and people will know what I'm talking about as soon as it gets to that part, because the part goes on forever too.
Yeah, although I gotta respect it though. It was a very intense and genuinely horrifying movie. I had to avert my eyes for a couple bits. He knows how to make a movie. I mean, so we'll see what kind of awards it's put up for, though, because this is an Oscar-winning director. This is the guy who did Call Me by Your Name. So we'll see what goes on. Tilda Swinton is literally magic.
She's finally admitting that she's played that other role, though. Now it was so. There was so much secret. You can tell if you're looking for it. But there's always okay, well, maybe they just found an old guy who looks like her. But now she's embracing it, which is great because she did great in it.
Oh,
so, yeah, let her have it. I also saw Halloween, which was everything I wanted it to be and more. I loved it. It's exactly what you think it is. It is a modernization. It's a modern sequel, and it's pretty brutal. It's not, but if you think about it, the first one really wasn't that bloody or gory. It was all just atmosphere. So this one is kind of somewhere between Rob Zombie's, which was all gore. Mm-hmm. There's still atmosphere, but there's also a lot of brutality. So I don't know. Halloween fans, as if you haven't seen it twice already, because I have. Go see it because it's
Yeah, I was supposed to see it this weekend, but I was sick all weekend. So what are you gonna do?
Sorry, man.
Go see Halloween sick?
No, dude, I couldn't leave the house. I ended up staying home and watching a lot of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Nice.
See, I still haven't caught up with The Haunting of Hill House, so I'm.
There's too much good shit out right now. It's impossible for us to keep up.
Yeah. I could use a sick day to get caught up on that. Another thing I saw, which is going to be anticlimactic because it's probably the least known of these that we're talking about, but I saw a movie called Monster Party, which I think comes out next week. Not Mad Monster Party or any of that. It's what it reminded me of was if the kids from Don't Breathe broke into the house of one of those purge parties where the rich people are around, killing people. That's kind of what it kind of boils down to. It has its moments. It's fun. It's not, you can pretty much guess what's going to happen at every turn, but it's fun. It's a cool little suspense home invasion thriller. So what else we done this week, or do we want to move on to our subgenre?
Well, I do want to talk just for a moment about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Sure.
Do it.
Because I was a bit sick watching it, so I fell asleep during some parts. But in general, I have to ask, what is your fucking focus here? Because this show flip-flops so much. On one hand, it's being a witch is really cool. And it shows all this cool stuff that comes with it. And they are going hard with, this is satanic witchery, right? You sign the Book of the Devil, Baphomet comes out, it's all this cool shit. In fact, actually, the Church of Satan is looking into some legal action against them because of how they used the imagery of one of their statues in the show.
Yeah, the statue, yeah.
Yeah, everything else the Church of Satan is cool with. They're like, yeah, fucking keep doing your shit because we don't give a fuck. But the second you use some of their actual imagery that they use for their church to mean something of peace and prosperity, they're going to get mad.
I'll bet the Church of Satan has good lawyers, too.
Okay.
There's a lot of controversy with their lawyers. That's for another episode. But the thing with the show is that it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of like Sabrina herself. She's half human, half witch. So she wants to become a witch, but she doesn't want to become like fully devout to the devil. So it's doing this whole thing where it's like, well, we want her to become this. So it's like a whole thing about her signing the book, becoming a full-fledged witch. But she also wants to maintain her mortal life, which I don't understand because honestly, her friends and boyfriend kind of suck and are boring as shit. It's like, dude, just go with the devil. That sounds so cool. But it just flip-flops because it's like, oh yeah, it's really cool, but also, you know, they're Satanists and it's Satan and it's really evil, but also, like, isn't this cool and whimsical, all this, like, magic shit? And it's like, well, pick a side. Like, is this really evil? And if it is evil, why does she still want to study to become a witch? Why does she want these powers that come from something that's negative? Is it because she keeps saying, well, because I'm also half human, I can do good with it. But can you, though? You're getting your powers from evil. Like, it doesn't seem like it really has like a strong footing for like, I don't know. I just feel like they should have really just gone and been like, yeah, she's a satanic witch. You know, they eat people and it's cool. But there is some really cool imagery in there. There's a lot to like about that. But there's also a lot of like teenage drama that doesn't quite land. And don't get me wrong, I love teenage drama. Huge fan of the OC. And I hear Riverdale's a lot of fun. But I don't know, it has a weird balance with it where it goes really hard with the horror, but then really hard with the bad cheese and stuff. And I don't know. I'm going to finish the season, but I don't know if I'll be back for a second.
I'm still interested in giving it a shot and giving it a watch, see how I feel.
I probably won't get to it because I've got to do Haunting a Hill House, and I'm a couple episodes behind on The Purge. So
I've been really digging the Purge show. I'm caught up.
I have too, but I fell behind because of other stuff going on. So I think I'm 2 episodes behind. But see, that's one that I can plop on the couch and, you know, it's on my DVR. So fast forward through the commercials and it ends up being an hour and a half of Purge. And that's one Purge movie. And then I'm caught up. How many episodes are left? It's a 10 episode arc.
I think there's only like 2.
2 left? Okay, cool.
Yeah, last 2.
Cool. What's our subgenre this week?
Well, with Halloween fast approaching, I figured...
We're recording this the Monday before Halloween. By the time you hear it, it'll be after. But hey, look in the rearview mirror and check out Halloween.
Yeah, and also, every day should feel like Halloween to a horror fan.
The only people who celebrate Halloween are the amateurs. Real horror fans do it year long.
Exactly. So I mean, it's tis the reason for the season in every sense. So I figured, let's talk about some of our favorite Halloween themed or related horror movies.
Last night I just watched Satan's Little Helper. Have you guys seen that?
No, but it's been on my list.
It's pretty cheaply made, but it's about a kid who he plays a video game where you play as Satan's Little Helper. You play as this kid who goes around helping Satan. And he goes for Halloween as Satan's Little Helper. And he finds this serial killer who's dressed as Satan, and he becomes his little helper. And that's basically it in a nutshell. And it's camp. It's what's his name?
Jeff Lieberman.
Yeah. Jeff Lieberman, who did Blue Sunshine and Just Before Dawn.
Yeah.
It's one of his, I guess, newer movies. It's from about 15 years ago, though. And Amanda Plummer plays his mom, and Catherine Winnick from Vikings plays his sister. And it's a lot of fun. It's just kind of a gratuitous, not really gore fest. It's a gratuitous killing fest, is what it is. It's this serial killer is really brutal, and he likes to kill, and he gets this kid who thinks that, the kid thinks he's Satan. Everyone else thinks he's someone dressed as Satan, but he really is Satan or just a very evil guy. But anyway, that's one of my favorites when it comes to movies set on Halloween.
All right, and I'd like to say my choice, the one I'd like to talk about is, of course, bit obvious, but also well-deserved, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which in so many ways I feel is probably one of the ultimate Halloween horror movies. For those of you who don't know, it was the second sequel to the original John Carpenter's Halloween, but Carpenter wanted to try and do something aside from Michael Myers, so he thought it'd be fun to do Halloween from then on as a kind of anthology movie where like every Halloween movie would be a different Halloween themed story. So honestly, I feel like he was way ahead on that because anthologies are so big right now, and unfortunately it didn't do so well because people were still crazy about Michael Myers and slashers, but it's really won back the horror crowd. And it's basically about Tom Atkins as this doctor who has like this weird murder case on his hands where like a motionless gloved mystery man killed this toy seller who was wielding a silver shamrock Halloween mask, and like they're the biggest Halloween company in the world, and like they make the most popular Halloween mask. So Tom Atkins goes with the daughter of the toy seller to the Silver Shamrock headquarters, and he gets wrapped up in a crazy druid Halloween themed conspiracy, and it's got like killer robots and curses and Stonehenge and like going straight back to the very roots of the holiday. So it is just so bonkers. I love it.
And I still think that that's a great idea because it kind of fits in within that theme, you know, of each movie being an anthology, because you got the babysitter killer, you got like, you know, the killer masks and, you know, all that's in the druids, everything.
Oh, which also features one of the most like earworm songs in history. Basically, they had to make a jingle for Silver Shamrock, so they combined it with London Bridge is Falling Down. So it's Happy Happy Halloween, 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 Happy Happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. And once you hear it, it's stuck in your head forever, which is the real horror.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw it at the sequel-thon, and my roommate was telling me just the other day that he still has the song stuck in his head. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Tom Atkins is great in it, and great score by John Carpenter, as we were talking about. And yeah, like, and it is very interesting following the story because it was reviled for so long, but in recent years it's become a cult favorite.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out.
What about you, Korea? What's your favorite Halloween movie that's not Halloween?
I can't talk about Halloween without bringing up Trick or Treat. I mean,
yeah,
that film. It was, you know...
Trick or Treat? Or
Trick or Treat. You know, like Toys R Us. But it really is, you know, because when you think of Halloween, everyone thinks of the movie Halloween. But besides, like, taking place on Halloween, it doesn't really talk about, like, the holiday itself. You know, like, you think Christmas, there's so many movies about the mythologies of Christmas, ranging from everywhere. There's so few that really celebrate, you know, the origins and what everything means involving the holiday until you get Trick or Treat, which is just a beautiful love letter to the holiday. And it's also a fun and at times scary film. Mm-hmm. It's an anthology film. I mean, we're talking to horror fans, so if you haven't seen it, then you're in a minority at this point. But it's a great, just fun film. Scream Factory actually just recently put out a brand new Blu-ray for it, which is absolutely gorgeous. I'd recommend that to anybody. And yeah, dude, like how Sam isn't absolutely canon for being the icon of Halloween at this point is still baffling me.
I have a quick question for you. Speaking of Scream Factory, this is a little off topic, but not really because it's horror. Was your Creepshow litho bent like everyone else's?
I don't want to.
Sorry.
No. Okay, first of all, I do want to make a shout out to Shout and Scream Factory because I understand they were handed a shitty hand and they got pretty fucked over with their discs. They tried to keep the fans in contact with them. I did get my copy this week. My lithos were a little bent, but you know what? I rarely put those on display, and mine weren't bent to the point where I'm like, oh, they're ruined. They're just got a little bent, so I'm not too worried about my copies.
And once you frame them, the bend will go away. It'll get flattened, yeah.
Exactly. And the one that I do want to put on display is the one that got a little more bent, but it's just a little crinkle. It's nothing too bad. Again, in a frame, it'll look great. But man, dude, the shit that I was seeing online of people writing to them,
people are pissed.
Guys, it happens. Scream Factory has already been saying to people they're doing a second printing of all the lithos because of all the damaged ones. They're doing everything they can. Guys, these are small boutique titles. We understand stuff happens, and the reason that's happening is due to a closing and moving of disc manufacturers, which means this isn't the only time this is going to come up. This is going to happen with other titles, with other distributors, with other companies. So calm your fucking tits, all right?
And get used to it, because unless someone opens up another plant... now, I think it took Scream Factory by surprise a little bit too, so... they will probably plan a little better next time and not, they can go a little further out, not have their, although I think they really wanted to get stuff to people by Halloween, but they can plan out their release dates a little more now that I think it took them by surprise that this particular plant was basically shutting down.
But the other thing too, and don't get me wrong, I've been frustrated all month. I even messaged them just being like, hey, how was it? I try not to act angry unless it's with Amazon. Amazon, I always feel like I can be angry with.
Well, they're multi-billion-dollar companies, so
yeah, they can handle me going, I'm very frustrated with you right now.
And then they say have an extra month of Prime.
Yeah, they don't do that. They gave me $20 twice over the same order. So I mean, again, I can't complain towards them either. But the thing is, again, guys, where physical media is. Let's face it, it is on the decline. I'm not saying it's dying. I don't want it to die, but it is on the decline. There's plants that are shutting down. And because of that, it's more places are going to it. We saw this happen with vinyl years ago. Luckily, it's stabilized a bit more in that arena, but this is happening also with discs. And it's going to continue to happen unless more people show support with that. And that's not going to happen if everyone keeps acting like dicks. I understand there's a whole thing with the pre-orders with Scream Factory. That's a separate topic that we might discuss someday. I don't know a whole lot about that either. But in the meantime, guys, they're putting out some amazing products. My Creep Show Blu-ray is gorgeous, and I can't wait to dive into it when I have a day off this week. But Jesus, when you get it, it's gonna wash over you, man, because and you know what? Most of you already have it. Especially by the time this episode comes out, you will have your copy. I'm pretty damn sure of it. I got mine, so.
I didn't mean to pry open that can of worms. I was just curious about your lithos.
Kudos.
It's been a whole thing, man. It's been a whole month-long thing I've been seeing, and it's gross.
Well, if we missed your favorite Halloween movie, let us know on Facebook. Maybe you like Night of the Demons. Maybe you like not Trick or Treat, but Trick or Treat. Or Trick or Treats, or Tales of Halloween. If you like some of the newer ones, there's plenty of them.
Yep.
But we're gonna move on because we have a really what I think is gonna be a fun topic here. By now, you've all probably seen the new Halloween, and except for Korea, and you know that basically what they did was they retconned out everything. From the second sequel on, or the second movie on.
The first sequel.
Yeah. So this one picks up 40 years after the original movie, but it pretends none of those other ones happened.
Which isn't unusual for this series, right? I mean, let's be honest. They did that before where they were like, all right, we're done with Myers. We're going to just start doing shit with masks. And then they're like, all right, well, now we're going to retcon it, and now there's a niece. All right, now we're going to retcon it, and now there's, the fucking druids and shit. And then they're gonna, all right, let's retcon it, and so that there's no more needs.
20 years later,
Jamie Lee Curtis is back. Oh, now we're gonna retcon it, and now it's the reality.
With Busta Rhymes.
Now let's retcon it, and we're gonna make them white trash. All right. So this series is not that consistent. So if you're still complaining about that, shut up.
Somebody put it best that the Halloween franchise is essentially a choose-your-adventure story. So
yes,
that is a good way to put it. You can watch them in certain orders, and you get a completely different timeline.
Yeah,
and it just really simplified things, which made it a whole lot easier.
Well, Korea came up with kind of the idea to just ponder what other franchises could benefit from. Basically a complete reboot, a complete, reset, any of them that have gone off the rails. And I'm going to get things started with what is, I'm sure, to be a very unpopular choice, but I can't help but wonder what would have happened if Alien came back with the same tone as the first, if it never went into those action movies that, brought us to Alien versus Predator and all, if we come back now, and I guess that's almost 40 years, 79.
Yeah.
If they come back next year with 40 years later and they keep that same tone, I can't help but think how great, because Alien, I mean, there's two kinds of people, kind of like there's the Stones and the Beatles, or no, Elvis and the Beatles. That's what it is in Pulp Fiction, right? You can be an Elvis man,
and
you can be a Beatles man. There's Elvis and there's the Beatles. Well, there's Alien and there's Aliens. You can like them both, but you can't like them both the same. And I am Team Alien with an N, because I love the suspense horror aspect more than the Space Marines aspect. But that's not to say I don't love Aliens, but I love Alien more.
I would just love to see the promise that was supposed to be Alien 3. So if I were to retcon it, I'd retcon it back to after Aliens, but bring it to Earth, like they originally promised, but ended up not doing. And I think that would be cool to see more of like a combination of Alien and Aliens, kind of like what was promised as well.
That would be very interesting, especially because, in a similar mold with the new Halloween, they could bring back Sigourney Weaver to be Ripley again 40 years later. I feel like Alien should go back more to its horror roots, like the Prometheus movies kind of did in some ways, but
yeah, but it wasn't like a suspenseful kind of horror. It was more of a philosophical horror. It was more like horror of ideas, not horror of, is something going to jump out of this guy's chest at any given time?
Yeah, and some body horror, but it didn't quite capture what made the originals as great, which is also why I was disappointed that what was his name? The guy that did District 9. Remember, he was trying to do an Alien sequel?
Neil Blomkamp.
Neil Blomkamp, yes. He was trying to do a sequel that would have been direct to Aliens, but it ended up getting shelved because of the Prometheus Alien Covenant movies.
Well, yeah, Ridley Scott came back.
Yeah, which in some ways I feel like is unfortunate, because it seemed like he was going to take it back to its roots. Neil Blomkamp's all about body horror and science fiction gone awry, so I feel like that was a missed opportunity.
Well, what do you guys think? What franchises would you guys like to see?
Now, I have one, and this is a series that I have a lot of issues with and actually don't quite like, but I'm kind of interested in a retcon of. It's Sleepaway Camp. Now,
I would like to see a Sleepaway Camp movie that starts the moment the first one ends. What happens right then?
That was such an abrupt ending.
Well, that's what I'm kind of saying, is that like with that first one, that abrupt ending comes out of absolutely nowhere. There's almost no reason that should have been there other than, all right, we need something to actually make this film interesting, because up until that point it was pretty damn boring. But the sequels were just like, all right, yeah, so the spoiler, they had the reassessment thing, but they're still a killer. And then this just turns into a typical slasher that's kind of comical and cheesy.
Just so many quips and one-liners.
Yeah, so many quips, so many one-liners, no more twists, no more anything like that, really. But what I would like to know is, like, if they actually took like a direct sequel to the first one, caught up to the character years later, and seen what that type of psychological damage that they kind of maybe tried to explore in the first film, but really got into it, really start doing like a good character development around it, maybe still make him a slasher. Maybe they were forced into it instead of just being like, oh yeah, because with the first film, they kind of is just like making gender reassessment and trans evil and everything like that. It's very problematic and just not good. But you could honestly do, like, if handled correctly, you could do some redemptive qualities with that while also making like a really dramatic horror film. I think that might be interesting. I don't think it'll happen.
Very doubtful, unfortunately.
At this point, Sleepaway Camp is kind of like the Leprechaun franchise, where it is kind of a joke at this point. So yeah, I don't think...
well, except Leprechaun is coming back. Steven Kostanski, the director of The Void, is making a sequel that's coming out next year on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Is it a sequel to Leprechaun Origins?
No. It's like Leprechaun.
So Warwick is back. Warwick
No,
Davis?
I don't think it's Warwick, but it is somebody else. Like it is like the actual Leprechaun character from the original. Although I think it might also be kind of a reboot situation. I don't remember, but I think it's a direct sequel to the original because it's taking place in the same location as the original. And I think there was something like a sorority house is built on the location of the original Leprechaun, and that's how all that shenanigans is going to happen.
If Jennifer Aniston's not back, it's not worth making.
That would be incredible if they could get her back. I mean,
that would sell it.
Yep,
it would.
What about you, Jacob? What franchise do you want to retcon?
Oh boy. Well, I think okay. So I thought about this, and I think one of the big reasons to do a reboot is just because we got to face facts that the reasons why so many horror franchises have so many sequels is that they were just milked for profit. Just first movies did pretty good, but then they got degraded as they just pumped out endless sequel after sequel purely for cash, and then they just get progressively cheaper and weirder and all that. So I feel like
why you got a bag on Saw like that?
Actually, please do bag on Saw.
Well, I mean, it doesn't apply to all these types of movies, but I do think that some, were degenerated because of so many sequels. But anyway, so my point being is that I think a franchise that deserves a reboot sequel is Hellraiser. Just because, the first two are some of my favorite horror movies. Like, they're still so disturbing and so visceral. And 3 is when shit really started to get off the rails. Which is the thing. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a reboot back to 1. It could be a reboot back to 2 because, again, it was a similar situation as with other horror movies where the sequel goes directly from where the last one ended. But I would be interested in a more serious and kind of philosophical horror Hellraiser movie, kind of taking back to the originals. And of course, I would love to see them bring back Kirsty, and personally I would love to see them bring back Julia, because I think I mentioned this before. The original idea for the Hellraiser franchise is that Julia, Kirsty's stepmother, would have been the main antagonist for the franchise had they gone originally as planned. So I'd be very interested in seeing that happen. And this came from an online discussion on Twitter, but I would love for Panos Cosmatos to make a Hellraiser movie, the director of Mandy and Beyond the Black Rainbow, especially because he basically had Cenobites in Mandy. Let's not forget. The Black Skull Bikers. And just, I would love to see him tackle the franchise. I could really imagine... Well, that's the thing, I can't imagine, but I would love to see his take on the characters and the mythos, and just how simultaneously terrifying and surreal he could make it.
I think that'd be an interesting watch. I'd watch it for certain. I still haven't seen Mandy yet, though.
Oh,
I haven't either. I have to wait for it to come to Shudder.
Once again, you guys just have yet to be graced by greatness.
I don't know. You said that about Beyond the Black Rainbow, and that movie still doesn't do it for me.
Different strokes, but I think you'll really appreciate Mandy. It's very different. In fact, it's literally the polar opposite. Cosmatos said he wanted to do the polar opposite of Beyond the Black Rainbow. He made Mandy, and it's the exact polar opposite.
Perfect.
Now, I have a question for you guys because I don't know the answer myself. I kind of struggle with the answer. Would you guys like to see a basically a 40 years later, actually be 35 years later, reboot of A Nightmare on Elm Street with basically the Nancy Thompson 40 years later going up again, basically what they did with Halloween, but with A Nightmare on Elm Street? Because starting with the second one is where Freddy kind of turned into this vaudeville comedian, with his little one-liner stuff. But in the first one, he was pants-shittingly scary. And then he kind of got less so because he turned into kind of like a jokester. And I don't know if I would want to see that. I mean, on the one hand, I would, because I think it would be a terrifying movie. But on the other hand, that there's so much legacy that they would be given up, both good and bad. but there's so much of his history that is built into all those sequels, including A New Nightmare, the meta one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if I would want to see that, but I've been kind of thinking about it since we brought up this topic.
Now, because that was one of the main things for me in trying to, once we, brought this up, like what franchises not only deserve to be brought back in a glorious way, but like where would you draw that line of drawing it back? Because with Freddy, yes, he got cheesier, but his mythos built tremendously over the sequels with being the son of 100, the bastard son of 100 nuns that were raped, things of that nature.
100 maniacs.
100 maniacs, right?
It was only one nun.
One nun, sorry. That would be cool if it was hundreds of nuns. But the thing is also, we got to remember that Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was awesome. And there was some really good, and you got to see Nancy really grow up a lot and fight back with a team. So I would argue that if you were to retcon it, I'd retcon it to 3. Yeah. So that way you at least have that development of Nancy and you can grow from there. But also, I think it was John Squires, also known as Freddy in Space, mentioned that because, Robert Englund said that he has one more Freddy film in him, that you could almost do like a retcon, go to 3, and John's idea was to have one more film with Freddy, but kind of bring in a new, nightmare demon. And I think it would be kind of interesting.
New Blood?
A New Blood, maybe.
Nightmare on Elm Street, The New Blood?
That's Friday the 13th.
Yeah, but it could be interesting to see, like, this new nightmare demon come up while also have Freddy give his, and Robert Englund give his swan song, and give Nancy her swan song within the series, but, like, open it up for a new franchise and a new generation with this new nightmare demon, which could be interesting. I mean, we've seen people take older characters that are horror icons that are cheesy and redo them in the modern, like, with the new It and things of that nature. So if someone can do it right, why not?
Yeah, I'm actually with you on that. And funnily enough, I was the one who asked him, John Squires, about that on Twitter. But yeah, no, that's
I feel why I saw it in my feed.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So I think that would be a pretty interesting way of doing it, and yeah, I agree that it probably better to take it right back to 3, which in itself was the real part 2 of the franchise, because Freddy's Revenge is its own little thing.
We can probably lose part 2, just go 1, 3, and then start.
Pretty much, but
I say keep 2. I love 2 so much.
Yeah, but it's completely unconnected.
Movie.
Yeah, it's a standalone. Yeah. So it's not even connected in any way. It's
the Halloween 3 of the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Yeah, it really is.
It kind of is. I mean, it's got Freddy, but yeah.
But anyway, I do think that doing a Nightmare on Elm Street, 35 years later, could be pretty interesting and could be a good way to give the actors and characters their swan song. Because Robert Englund said he'd be down. I feel like if it could be like what Halloween did, then there's definitely a lot of possibilities. And I do love John's idea that if they want to keep the franchise alive, they can just introduce a different Dream Demon. Going with the mythos.
Played by Kane Hodder.
that would be something. Although I also liked Robert Englund's own idea. Like, remember a bit ago he put out like a thought, like if they did another Nightmare movie, he thought it'd be cool if Freddy is played by a different actor for everybody he appears to, because everybody has their own interpretation of Freddy. So like different people see different versions of Freddy in their dreams. So I think, there's definitely some ideas, and I mean, if everybody's willing and, the possibilities are there, I think they should go for it. Just got to get the right director and right writer.
So Mike Flanagan and some writer?
Ooh.
Because Flanagan can do no wrong.
Pretty much. Mike Flanagan Halloween movie, or Nightmare on Elm Street movie, that would be pretty impressive. On other ideas, or on other franchises that could use Ret-con reboot, another one that came to mind to me would be Pumpkinhead. Like, I feel like that.
Ah.
Like, that one deserves kind of a clean slate and another shot, because I'm sure most horror fans are familiar with Pumpkinhead, but yeah, it turns out it has 3 sequels and they're not that great.
No, especially the latter 2 made for sci-fi.
Made for TV, just really diminishing.
Really hard to watch.
So I feel like if they did it, they just need to go back to basics and definitely get Lance Henriksen for a cameo if they can. But yeah, just kind of going on about the cycle of revenge. And well, the other thing is they have to go as practical as they can and honor Stan Winston by, definitely having the creature be animatronic and, try and do it as practical as possible. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of possibilities there because, you just fill in the revenge story and like, how and why somebody would want to summon Pumpkinhead. And also there's a Pumpkinhead comic that puts forth another interesting kind of world building idea, because Pumpkinhead is the demon of wrath and revenge, so like it's kind of a 7 deadly sins thing, so there might be 6 other demons for the 6 other sins.
Yeah, I think that would be... I would absolutely love that, because I'm a huge fan of the original Pumpkinhead. And I was so disappointed with Blood Wings. Watching, like, it has its moments, especially once Pumpkinhead actually comes in and some of the mythos building. But ultimately, I think, rebooting it, especially since, like, when you get into films like Pumpkinhead and all that, they take place so soon after. It's like, how did no one learn their lesson from the previous one? Like, this literally just happened a year ago, guys. I understand, like, with that one, it's rural and it didn't hit the big news, demon monstrosity kills teenagers. But I mean, at a certain point, it's like, this is ridiculous. This is a yearly thing happening. But with that time that's happened also from when the movie came out in the timeline, but also with the audiences, you could reintroduce it and do something awesome while also respecting the original. And what are some other franchises? Maybe we might not have the best ideas off the top of our heads, but what are some other ones that might be good for fodder?
Do you guys think that if you were to follow up the original film, you think there's something there with Children of the Corn?
Oh, definitely.
Because those sequels were all really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the original film wasn't bad. It's by no means a masterpiece, but
it's a lot of fun.
If you picked up there,
it has some pretty creepy moments, though.
In the first one,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Think about how great that would be, especially with like modern millennials and stuff. You could almost say like an online cult starts off years later when this original card, and you see these like new millennials treating like what Isaac and all of them did as like they don't understand it. They think it's like something pretty great and awesome, and I don't know, hold a fucking festival there or something, and he who walks behind the rose comes out, and I don't know, I think not a fleshed out idea, but it could be. I think that could be a good one.
No, I'm with you. Like, I've thought, there's definitely a lot of potential in the Children of the Corn, especially today, because generational issues are definitely a big issues. Because, how many times have you seen an article about millennials are killing the blank industry or millennials are killing X thing? So it only makes... there's definitely a lot of fear of the next generation, and also you got your Gen Z and, further down the line. So... because the other thing is most millennials are in their 20s, so, it's like there will always be a fear of the next generation. And to update that and through the lens of a story like Children of the Corn could be pretty fascinating. So,
what if also they explored how the Monsanto corporations and companies like that have affected corn, and how that might, there's an angle there. There's an angle.
Funnily enough, that was kind of a plot point in Children of the Corn 3: Urban Harvest.
Fuck, of course it was.
That movie has a place I have a soft spot for. It has its moments, and it is pretty ridiculous.
It's just like, how many? You can't even make that many rows of corn in a city block. Like, I mean, it's one of those things. You took them out of its environment, and it looked ridiculous. Like, Freddy in Manhattan, or Jason in Manhattan. Fuck, holy shit, I said Freddy in Manhattan.
Freddy in Manhattan.
Someone
That's
give
your
me
new Twitter name.
All right, fucking take my horror fan card away from me for the night. Sorry, guys. Sleep deprivation has gotten to me.
Dude, I've already got the treatment half written in my head. Don't give up on this. Freddy in Manhattan.
I know, but I said it like it was already a movie, man.
Right?
Only if it's Freddy versus the Rampage monsters. Then I'm there.
That would be something.
There you go. The company that created the Rampage monsters also had a hand in Children of the Corn, and they've been experimenting on kids sleeping, which is the corporation that makes the kids in Freddy versus Jason. And I'm done. Bye. Hollywood, where's my check?
Speaking of kind of retconning out, even though there's only one sequel, until recently, but I think it might have been one of the Shockwave shows. Maybe Rob G was saying about the new Blair Witch movie. He was saying that because they go through that weird part where that one couple goes, "We've been wandering for weeks," but it had only been like an hour. And he was saying that if they at one point in that movie had Heather Donahue walk out of there like she was caught in this time loop in the woods, and this would have been, almost, 17 years later. I think it was Rob G, and he was saying that would have totally sold the movie. That would have been a winner. But, they went other places, and they basically remade the first movie.
I have a soft spot for Blair Witch 2016. Like, that movie genuinely scared the hell out of me. But
the third act is completely nail-biting. I do like it, but you have to admit, it's basically a rehash of the first one.
A little bit, but yeah, I still think it's a pretty good movie. But anyway, although I agree with you that I feel like there needs to be a continuation on that. I guess this wouldn't really be a retcon situation, but either way, I feel like there's definitely room for more Blair Witch and so on. I mean, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what they could do, but But
if you retcon out everything after the first movie, you lose Book of Shadows, which is a brilliant movie.
Don't you fucking start again. Don't you start again, James.
Let's start talking about Psycho so I can talk shit about Gus Van Sant's Psycho 2.
No, that franchise is perfect the way it is. Even the fourth one I will fight for. Weirdly. I don't know why. I don't need to fight for it, but you know what? Just to spite you, I will fight for it.
What about the Gus Van Sant remake?
Yeah, let's do a sequel to let's do Psycho 2 by Gus Van Sant.
Yeah, honestly, I'd like to see him do a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho 2 and 3. Like, that's all I want. Like, yes, Gus Van Sant, that's how you... What did he just do with... He just did a movie with Joaquin Phoenix, right?
Yeah. The Don't Worry... Or no, not Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far... Yeah, Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. That's the one.
Yeah, just him and Joaquin Phoenix do Psycho 2 and 3, shot for shot. Let's do this. Okay, what's Vince Vaughn doing?
So you're turning
days?
your back on Vince Vaughn.
No, bring Vince Vaughn back. Fuck it. I know he doesn't have hair right now after Cell Block, but bring him back. We'll bring back Vince Vaughn. We'll have Joaquin Phoenix play Jeff Fahey's character in Psycho 3, and it's going to be amazing. Actually, you know what? Fuck doing shot for shot remake of Psycho 2. Let's just do a shot for shot Psycho 3. Perfect.
So we are retconning. We're retconning right past Psycho 2
and doing a sequel to the remake of Psycho with a shot-for-shot sequel of Psycho 3, and my stutter is coming out so hard because of all this.
Good. But on a more serious note, I think they should do a sequel boot to Slumber Party Massacre. Because we talked about that a bit with Kelly in the Women on Horror segment, and
what was wrong with the real sequels, though? I mean, what do you think
nothing really. It's just things just kind of went all over the place. Because
seriously, there's a lot wrong with those sequels.
Okay.
Well, but there's a lot wrong with the original movie.
There's nothing wrong with the original. The original one is a perfect slasher comedy. Like,
to be fair, the first sequel did give us that crazy greaser rock and roll dream demon driller killer with the drill guitar. So that was pretty impressive.
Who his presence was, like, don't get me wrong, his basically Slumber Party Massacre 2 made for a better trailer than it made for film, because that guy is so cool in the trailers, but then you watch the movie and you're like, wait, what is his part in this? Is he real? Is he not? I don't get any of it.
But anyway, the point being that simplify, go right back to Slumber Party Massacre, and as we were talking about Women of Horror, it's a franchise that was created by and written by women, so it's needs a sequel written and directed by women. So
there you go. Jennifer Kent, Catherine Bigelow. Is that who we nominated to do the Slumber Party?
I think we did.
Honestly, I think that would be pretty brilliant, because this Halloween movie isn't the first one to go back and see what this person is doing years later. As we talked about, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 did it. Halloween did it in H2O and the new Halloween. So I think it would be kind of interesting to have that slasher series that was written and directed by women kind of do their own take on the revisiting decades later with the survivors and how they're handling with it and them coming back. I'd watch the shit out of that.
Yeah. So I really think it deserves another shot, and as has been a recurring topic in the horror community, like it's the ideal movie for women to write and direct. So it'd be very interesting to see their take on that, especially in the wake of the Halloween reboot Quill's success and all that. A
couple of titles that I'm not really surprised, but I think it's interesting that none of us have mentioned. No one wants to retcon the Amityville Horror.
I was just about to bring that up. I was like, all right, James, how would you do it, since you're the one who's watched probably the most sequels out of the three of us?
I wouldn't. The only thing I want to see, I think, is the next movie coming out. I want to see a movie about the DeFeos. That's not Amityville 2.
Amityville 2.
Well, Amityville 2, I guess, is the DeFeos, but not the DeFeos.
Yeah, it's the DeFeos, in quotes.
Yeah. Possessed by the DeFeos. Another one, and I think this is more because what more can you do? None of us brought up Saw. No one wants to retcon Saw. What would you do? Yeah, I think that yeah. The steady decline of the Saw movies is perfect the way it is.
Kind of, yeah.
Although, honestly, I just thought of one, and I'm surprised I didn't think about this when we were thinking all week what to bring up. The Omen. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of the original Omen as a trilogy. I love those films, but I think it would be kind of interesting to see him grown up, all this shit happened as a kid of him being the Antichrist, but nothing happened. Just think of him being like as an adult and nothing happened. He didn't grow to power, all this stuff, but he's still viewed as like the Antichrist. And then him trying to kind of fulfill his prophecy, but he's much older, kind of like having a midlife crisis of never lived up to my potential of, fighting,
bagging groceries at the Stop and Shop.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And you know what? Let's bring back Sam Neill just so he could have more monologues shouting the Nazarene. I'm dead serious about this.
Oh, and it should be directed by Taika Waititi.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that would be a perfect comedy, wouldn't it be?
It really would.
Unfulfilled life of a Antichrist by the man who gave us Thor Ragnarok and What We Do in Shadows.
Yeah, I mean, it would fit perfectly in that style, really. And because just he tackled a lot of kind of common, relatable, and kind of mundane issues with supernatural stories and fare, like with the vampires and What We Do in the Shadows, and like they can't, like they didn't have internet, and like they didn't weren't able to go around as much. So that would be an amazing movie for Taika, though, to do an Omen sequel where turns out Damien was a burnout, and him kind of dealing with the fact that he's the Antichrist, but he's kind of a failure,
and then trying to get back into the groove of things. So yeah. Who do we talk to about getting that made? Because you know what? Fuck my idea of sleepaway camp. I want to see that.
Yeah, somebody put Taika Waititi on the phone. We got an idea.
I can't do long distance. My cellular doesn't call to New Zealand.
Well, we'll just have to bombard him on Twitter.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up before somebody brings up wanting to retcon Jaws.
Oh, no.
So, have we missed anything? Fearless listeners, faithful listeners, true believers, let us know. Come find us on Facebook and let us know what you think deserves the Halloween retcon treatment. And let's get the hell out of here. It's late and our beds are calling. Our music, as always, DMP, Death Metal Pope. So go give them some love. And our artwork, as always, is Chris Fisher. So go give him some love. And go on over to the iHorror Facebook page and give us some love there, as well as the iHorror Facebook page. And while you're on the internet or on your phone, go on over to Stardust and check that out, because at some point I'm going to join Korea and Kelly on Stardust, because I have the app set up and I even, I'm logged in. I just need to...
Yeah, damn, I just need
to stop being lazy and you need to actually get set up with it.
Yeah.
I have no excuse.
Yeah, you've been teasing us for a while on that, man. We're over 500 people. We got over 500 followers on that in a month. Like Kelly and I have been posting almost daily on that, once or twice a day. So if you want really quick reviews from a couple of sassy motherfuckers, like, follow us on there.
I could BS you guys right now and say I've been waiting for it to hit 500 before I joined in. So now I'm all in, because you guys have the viewership that I'm used to.
James was just waiting for the level of audience that he's become accustomed to. Because
I have a minimum guarantee. And all right. You can find me on Twitter at Cinema Ferrite. That's Ferrite instead of Verite. That's Fearite. Where can we find you, Jacob?
You can find me on Twitter at Jacob Davison _. That is at JACOBDAVISON _.
And you can find me on Twitter, Insta, Korean Barbecue. That's CORREIAN BBQ. And don't forget, also, Rampage is available to rent or own on physical media and digital formats.
Of course, the wolf flies.
Give me money, Warner Brothers. Give me money.
All right. Until next time, I'm James J. Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
And I'm Jonathan Correa.
Keep your eye on horror.